You're listening to the Around the Lens podcast, the home of high-quality, roundtable, visual journalism discussion about the news, topics, and gear related to our career field. Now, here's the host of our show, David J. Murphy.
Hello and welcome to Around the Lens, episode 202. I am your host, David J. Murphy. Joining me this week is my co-host, and only my co-host, Travis Keys. Hello, Travis.
Hey, what's going on? Feels good to be back in my own home studio for once and not traveling.
That's right. You've been on the road a lot. Where you been the last few weeks?
Oh, I've been in Philadelphia shooting. I've been in New Orleans shooting. But now I'm back in New York right before I head off to Nassau, Bahamas to shoot there for about 6 days, that sounds terrible. I know. In
the dead of winter, you're going to really miss the snow and the freezing cold. Oh, man. Poor guy.
But I got to tell you, I do like a white Christmas. So,
yeah. You'll probably be coming back when you come back here. When are you going to Nassau? Next week, right?
I'll be. I think it's. I'm trying to. Oh no, after Thanksgiving. So yeah, I'll be here. I'll be home for Thanksgiving, and then the December 3rd or something like that, I fly out to Nassau, Bahamas.
Oh, cool. What's your plan for Thanksgiving? You just going home? You gonna see the fam?
No, yeah. Normally, the last couple of years, I've been doing all the cooking and inviting everyone over to my house. But my mom's like, "I'll do it this year." I'm like, "Okay, that means I don't have to do anything except make my brandied sweet potatoes, which are a big hit."
Heck yeah. Anything with brandy, brandy turkey, brandy,
lots of alcohol
green
flavor,
beans,
right? Yeah,
just throw alcohol into it, and it makes it that much better.
And what's the South Korea Thanksgiving like?
Kimchi and noodles.
Nice.
And no,
there you go.
Well, actually, we got a turkey. So I've got a frozen turkey sitting in the fridge right now in the freezer, and I've never, I'm 38 years old, and I've never done like cooking a Thanksgiving dinner, like a traditional Thanksgiving dinner in my life. I've always either gone out to have it, or my brother, he used to have he had the family first. So he had the wife and the kids and stuff first before I did. So he would do all the, home cook dinner, Christmas time, usually for Christmas time. But again, I've never done like the full on making a bird and making the stuffing and everything. So we're going to do that. That's going to be our adventure.
Nice.
This Thanksgiving, because we're not going anywhere.
One of the easiest ways and best flavored ways is that I've been frying a turkey the last couple of years, and it is quick and easy and tastes amazing.
I've seen that done, and I'm a little scared, because
no, there's nothing to be scared about. I mean, no, not at all. It's sort of like like the people that do stupid things will always do stupid things. Right. If you take a frozen turkey and throw it into a thing, it's gonna blow up. Yes. If you take a normal turkey and dip it in, no problem whatsoever.
All I remember is I saw this episode of, I think it was Good Eats, and it was Alton Brown showing how he deep fries a turkey, and there was a ladder and rope and all kinds of things involved. And I was like, that's scary.
I just got one of those $100 turkey fryers off of eBay. I'm not eBay, Amazon. Okay. And it rotates it on a spit. It's like a big fryer, and you bring the oil, you just turn it on, it brings the oil to heat, you drop in your turkey, and it just literally an hour later, it has the best turkey, because all it does is it seals the outside, and then all the juice and stuff stay inside, and it's just it's so easy.
No, I've heard fried turkey is the way to go. I mean, you're gonna get some darn good turkey doing that. I think for this first time though, I'm gonna go oven,
go traditional,
and I'm gonna baste it, and I'm gonna.
Here's the big question: stuffing in the turkey.
I want to do it as traditional as typical Thanksgiving.
You got to put that stuffing in that turkey.
I'm gonna stuff that bird.
Stuff that
Reach
bird,
my
get
hand
all the juices and flavor.
Way up there and stuff all the turkey, all the stuffing, all the bread into the turkey cavity. So we're gonna get all into it. So that's my plans for the turkey holiday. Not going anywhere. Surprisingly enough, it takes a long time and it costs a lot of money to fly back to the States. So, So we're not gonna do that. Actually, we're going to Hawaii for the holidays. That's what we're gonna do. We'll go
because that's cheaper.
It's cheaper. It's shorter to get there, and
you know people there.
I do know people there. I know Ron Hamilton, co-host of the show. So I'm gonna see him actually. So that'll be nice. We'll do a little impromptu in-person show or something like that. I don't know.
Definitely have to do something.
We got to celebrate the occasion.
Capitalize on being there.
That's right. And then when I get up to New York, we're going to get together. We're going to hang out.
Absolutely.
So
I expect it.
Indeed. So we got a lot of great stuff going on for the holidays. We'll probably head home like next year. My wife's sister is getting married in the fall of 2020, so that's when we'll go home, see the family, and all that stuff. So, but this year we decided we'll go someplace new, go to Hawaii. But you're gonna hang out at home. You're going to see the family, right, for Thanksgiving? Are you also going to see the family for Christmas?
Yeah,
because they're nearby, right? Are they in
going...
New York?
No, I mean they are in New York for Thanksgiving, but we're all going down to Florida for
oh
Christmas.
My goodness, that's great. We're in Florida.
Yeah. Palm Beach.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's on the east coast of Florida, right?
Yeah, it's up from
Miami.
Miami.
Great.
Yeah. But my mom has and family has a house there, and I'm renting a house nearby.
So a whole house for you, and then a house for the rest of the family, right? Gotta keep that separation, otherwise you go crazy.
I can. Yep. I can do my podcast.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah. So you're gonna go home for the holidays. You're gonna see your family. They know you're a photographer, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure they listen to this podcast every week, so they know.
I know where this is going, and I like your segue.
It is going to our first topic this week, which is covering family events. So this is a story we found on F-Stoppers. It's obviously satirical, but for some pieces, people it might be realistic. Who knows? Basically, the story here, and you can read it in the show notes, is all about how this guy is like talking to his family. And he's like, "Hey, bro, can you take my picture for my business card and for my website? And oh, can you do this?" And he's like, and sister's like, "Can you take a photo for my Instagram page?" And all this stuff. So it's kind of like, again, when you know somebody in the family who has a skill, you're like, "Hey, let me capitalize on that person who has that skill." Any kind of like similar or experience, where you or your family is like asking for your photo support?
This struggle is real. I mean, it happens a lot, and it's not just with families; it's with friends and all that kind of stuff. It's like it's like suddenly you get this great invite to a party or a New Year's Eve party or a wedding or something like that. They're like, "Oh, can you bring your camera and just shoot a couple shots?" I mean, this happens all the time. And what other profession does that happen with? It's like "Oh, you know what? Why don't you come over for dinner and bring your legal briefs because I have some stuff that I want to go over for free." It's just like it is kind of yes, we photographers I think are creative and we love what we do, but we also like to enjoy our moments in downtime and holidays and stuff like that. So if you expect us to kind of work for free, that's it's sort of the last thing I ever want to do. So if I was a cook, and I'm going out to dinner, like I would not want them to say, "Hey, can you come in the kitchen and cook your dinner?" It's right. Like it happens a lot, and I think people need to say, it's like, and just throw it back at them. It's like, if you're dad's a computer engineer or something like that, or a computer programmer, say, "Yeah, I'm going to bring over my computer. I want you to build it during Thanksgiving too." Right. So maybe they'll get the idea.
Well, I give up on like trying to help my family members with their computer issues because it's a never-ending struggle. If you've had that kind of issue with your family members, your parents or whatnot, but it's like with my mom, I try and show her something, and it's just, why bother?
It happens. My brother does the computer thing. He fixes computers in IT and up with their laptop. It's like, come on.
Yeah. Well, has there been an instance where any of your, anyone is like a specific instance that you can remember where, someone has asked you for your photo services, either family or friend, or at a holiday event? Or had them look at your stuff? Can you think of any specific instance that's happened to you?
Oh, there's definitely times, it's like you get that a lot. And my mom will be like, "Oh, bring your camera." Mm-hmm. Right? It's an event, and suddenly it's turned into me enjoying it too. Like if I bring my camera, just let me shoot, not be expected that Travis will cover it and put up a gallery or something like that. It's like it has to be my kind of feeling. Like if I'm bringing my cameras because I want to shoot some pictures, not because he'll bring it, he'll cover it.
I can say I've never been asked like by family members at any like holiday gathering, because I would go home almost every year for the holidays, either Thanksgiving or New Year's or Christmas, whenever I could get away.
Right.
And like no one has ever said like, "Dave, bring your camera and shoot this event," and then yada yada, follow up, process it. I've always voluntarily brought my camera and shoot because I love to shoot and because I think recording those family gatherings is important. It's important to me. And, I'm the only person in the family who's an actual true photographer. So it's like, if I don't capture it well, who's going to capture it? And so I like doing it. I enjoy those memories. I gather the entire family around and we do a group photo. I set up my tripod and I do a nice group photo. So every time I'm there, we have good photos, and that's because I think capturing that stuff is important. But maybe I would be less inclined to do it if someone asked me to do it. If my brother was like, "Hey, bro, I need you to cover the family holiday event," I'd be like, "Ugh." Then it's an obligation. It's not something I want to do.
Yeah.
It's like
and suddenly, you're working during the holidays, and not because what we do is work. It's like, it's not just like, hey, I'm having a blast. It's like we look for moments. We use our creativity to capture these things, and suddenly we're brought outside of it and working.
Right.
I just recently I had a friend, who throws a big Halloween party. I get a text. It's like, hey, you want to come to my Halloween party? I'm like, yeah, it sounds good. If I'm around, I'll do it. He's like, oh, why don't you bring your camera? I'll throw you $100 to take some pictures. I'm like, oh, there it was.
Yep. And of course, they want the discount rate, right? Because they're your buddy.
Yeah, like $100 that gets you not even an hour.
No. And that doesn't even count processing. Come on.
Yeah.
It's like we were talking about this. Actually, Ron brought this topic up, I think, and I was talking to him about it on email, and he was like saying, I don't pick up my camera unless I'm getting paid for it. It's like that kind of thing. Like, he's not working for free. But again, I've never had any issues doing with, and I'd be happy to continue to do it. And if it was with my family this year, I would absolutely do that for them. I've actually photographed like all my all my wife's sisters' weddings. Like I just bring my DSLR, bring my camera kit everywhere I go because I'm a shutterbug and I like to use the camera. Like, I actually did a wedding video for one of my wife's sisters for her wedding. She did not hire a videographer to shoot her wedding, but I just happened to be like, I'll do it. I volunteered myself to do it because I've never done wedding video before, and I was like, low impact, low stress. No one expects anything of me, and it wasn't the best product, but it was better than nothing, which is what she would have gotten if I'd done nothing. So.
But as soon as you said I shot some video, they're like, I want it.
Oh yeah. Well, what's funny is,
and it's a big deal. It turns into a big deal.
What's funny is, like, it takes a little bit to edit video, especially when you're trying to craft something good. And so after like about a week or so of me working on it, somebody was like, "So hey, what's up with that video, huh? Let's get that video made, huh? Where's that video? You mean the one I'm doing for free?" In my free time, on my holiday, on my vacation? Yep. Yes, I'm working on it. I will get it to you when I get it to you. But I did get that done while I was down there for the holidays, so they could all watch it together and stuff like that. So it's a nice little keepsake.
Well, that's a nice thing, especially if you're a professional photographer and stuff like that. And those family moments, and especially with the kids growing up, stuff you want to have just turns into a really beautiful keepsake and something that you should have and would feel guilty if you didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I get satisfaction out of it. I enjoy bringing my camera. I can get the idea that you want to separate yourself from your work. I mean, like, for instance, you're going down to Florida, right? Are you bringing your camera gear? Are you planning to shoot?
It's actually funny. The last couple of years I've gone down to Florida, and by the time December rolls around, I'm exhausted, and I'm just like, the last thing I want to do is I'm trying to like recharge the batteries and stuff like that. And the last couple of years I've gone down to Florida, and everywhere I go and travel, I bring my camera and I'm shooting all the time. For some reason, Palm Beach, I have no incentive or no desire to shoot anything, and I've had my camera the last 3 years. And I'm like, this is the best place for me to like clear my brain because I have no desire to shoot anything. I have just no inspiration. So it's been pretty good going down there to clear the head because I just don't want to shoot anything.
Okay. So maybe I missed it. Are you bringing it or are you not bringing it?
Oh, I'll have it, but I just never use it. It would be weird for me not to bring my camera. Everything. It's sort of like my cell phone. Sure. It's like I have to have it with me.
Yeah, I can't not bring my camera on vacation. I can't not bring it home. I would feel like I've left something behind if I didn't bring it.
It's an appendage of me. Yeah, it goes where I go.
100%. But yeah, I can see like with this example, if people start like saying they need stuff from me, then it's going to be something like, okay, let's talk prices here. Like, I think even actually my brother, he's a real estate guy, right? He's in real estate, and he has been doing lots of cool things actually down in Florida. He has he does real estate videos. He actually puts himself on camera and he introduces the homes and he walks people through them and he narrates them and stuff like that. And, he hires a videographer and an editor to do that for him. But, that's been very successful for him. And it's not something I see very many realtors do. Like a lot of realtors, especially the ones I've worked with to sell my homes when I've moved, they'll do the typical stuff, the website with the images on it. And, I've actually, like when I was leaving Mississippi, I made a sort of house video with my video camera. I shot all the photos of the house because I wanted to make sure they were of highest quality possible. And so, but again, I like to see him doing that. But there was early on, he was like trying to get me to sort of like do stuff for him, mostly like with website design and stuff like that, because that's something I used to be much more into back like a couple decades ago. And it just came to like I wasn't motivated to help him out with that because it's like I would have worked with him, but it seemed like he wanted me to do it for him for free, like build my website for me, and then we'll talk about maybe other projects or something like that. Let me see if like Joe, look at my portfolio. If you like what I can do in my portfolio, hire me. If not, like I'm not doing spec work for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever had an instance, in any thing where like the client has asked for spec work, or is that just not something that happens?
I think no. It's a sort of a devalued thing that what happens is a lot of times you'll have charities or nonprofits and they say, oh, well, we don't have a budget for that, but they're spending, $50,000 on flowers, so for some reason they don't have any money for the photographer. And that's probably one of the most important things, because at the end of the day, no one's going to have the flowers. Nobody's going to have the, memories. They're going to have what they want is that picture, and that's what they're going to use throughout the year to promote and show what they've done and stuff like that. So somehow the memory of that has been devalued, and they think they can get for free because someone else will shoot it for free. That's sort of very disappointing.
Yeah, no, it's the state of the industry. We've talked about it many times. But anyways, looking forward to the holidays. Like I said, I'm taking a vacation, but I'll still have my camera with me. But if I wasn't, I would take my family and take pictures at Christmas. But again, like I said, I don't want to get into my personal life and what's going on with our family and whatnot. But again, when we did have events, it was home, it was nice. Again, I love taking photographs, so have fun.
Oh, I do have to say, I might actually be taking photographs down in Florida because the Airbnb that I rented is all like black and white and funky. So I might actually, see if I can get a model down there or something like that, because it's a very funky house to shoot, and that might be fun.
You bring up an interesting point when you say model. I'm like thinking, hey, you could ask your family to model for you. They could be your model, unless you need like model, like actual
You've seen my
models.
You've seen my shots, I think.
Okay, got it.
I do like the normal person portraits and stuff like that, but for something stylized like this, I'm gonna go with some professionals, and I will pay them.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, absolutely. Where are you going to get your models, by the way? Like, do you have a specific agency you go with, like Model Mayhem or something, or?
I've never used Model Mayhem. I know a lot of people that have used it and have good or bad stories with that. And certainly if you're starting your career, you don't know where to use, and that's a good tool to use something like that. I usually have a center of circles that I've used, and I've built up a network through Facebook and stuff like that. So no matter where I'm going, I can kind of put it out there. I'm going to be shooting in this town or this stuff like that. And there's lots of different ways to look for stuff through, either Facebook or through word of mouth or people you've worked with in the past. For me, it's I'll put it into my circle of knowledge and see what I get back, and I'll usually get some names and find out who or where or what. I've used modeling agencies to say you have new talent or something like that. They want some test shots and stuff like that to work with, and certainly I have an arsenal of people that I've worked with in the past that I like to work with, and when I'm testing stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't want to get too far off into this rabbit hole, but I am curious though. You said you hire models, right? You pay them. You pay models to show up.
It depends. Some are test shoots, and that's knowing they'll get photographs of the shoot and stuff like that. And then some, if it's more concept stuff and it's someone I want to work with, yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And are these models, are they bringing their own like makeup people? Are they doing their own makeup? Are you hiring a makeup person? Like, because I mean, that's a whole other aspect of it.
Yeah, it depends on the extent of the shoot. Obviously, the the more you bring into it, the more costs go up.
Sure.
So if you're just trying something because you know a good location and you want to try some lights and stuff like that, you'll have a model and they'll do their own makeup and stuff like that and hair, and you'll talk to them in advance saying, oh, well, this is what we're looking for and stuff like that. And you'll hire some people that, you know, I have some people that I work with that are very good at doing their own hair and makeup. And I've worked with some models that use no makeup or hair at all and are gorgeous. They're natural, you know, and would go for that kind of natural look. And the girl next door, and like they look fantastic. So it really depends on what and you're going for. Because if I'm going for a highly stylized shoot, you know, that's going to be very advertorial based or, you know, fine art based, I would pay for a hair and makeup because it pays for itself.
Yeah,
the look and, you know, just, you know, that extra pop, every little thing makes a difference in a photo. And if you have the right makeup and the right colors and the right hair, being, you know, it's a lot of work to, you know, Photoshop out little hairs that are flying away, and they do fly away. So if you have hair and makeup doing a nice hair job and stuff like that, it not only makes the picture look better, but it makes your life easier in post.
Oh yeah, 100%. I did some, you know, short film work when I was living in New York, and those are productions, you know, hair, makeup, sound, film, background, DP, all that stuff. So you get people there, then you have to start getting catering, then you have to cover travel expenses. So
it takes a village.
That can get pretty pricey. But
when I worked in film and TV, you start looking at, you know, you realize of all the things that could go wrong on a film, you know, from, you know, back when they shot, you know, film actually in these cameras, they would always say checking the gate. You know, they would check it for hairs and stuff like that. Just that one thing could ruin a shot. You know, it's like there's so much that could go wrong in film. It's amazing that these things are done.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic tonight.
Topic 2.
Topic numero dos. We're talking about this photographer. Good news, I would say, in the world of essentially, you know, photojournalists. You know, people trying to do their job, documenting what they see on the street, what's going on in the world. Essentially, what happened here is that a photographer, photojournalist, blogger named Avi Adelman won a $345,000 lawsuit. It basically settled the lawsuit with the Dallas Area Rapid Transit System. They agreed to pay him this amount of money because of the fact that they illegally, or, you know, I'm not going to say, because it was settled, I have to be careful about what I say, but, you know, again, what happened per the story is that, you know, he was arrested for taking photos of someone being treated for an overdose, and, you know, he claimed that the arrest was illegal. And so there was all kinds of things going on here. Charges were being levied at him, then they were dropped. But he didn't like that, so he obviously sued them for, you know, illegally arresting him. And now we're at this point where there's a settlement. There's a vote of 14-1 by the board of directors. So that's obviously, they realized they should probably pay him, and, you know, they did wrong. So, you know, again, I think this is a good outcome in this instance, and shows that, you know, people need to understand that a photojournalist is expressing their First Amendment right. They're doing their job and they're documenting, and, you know, as long as they're not interfering with what the police are doing, you know, they're not going in, you know, beyond the police lines and messing with evidence and stuff like that, you know, they should be allowed to do their job. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, with that premise, I totally agree. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a disconnect between what the actual law is and what, you know, sometimes the law enforcement say there is, you know, and what they let you do. With this one, I'm a little mixed on it. Not because of the outcome and not because, you know, of what was doing, but I tend to feel there's a lot of people out there that escalate and incite these moments. And if listening to the audio tape of this, it's very clear that, you know, if I'm shooting, which I have, and been out and protest things and see cops and stuff like that, the first thing I do is I'm not combative or, you know, escalate the situation with the police officer. I'll identify myself. When someone is, you know, knows the law, but also escalates it because they know the law. Like, well, I'm not going to give this to you because I don't have to. I can do whatever I want. You know, it's like you're escalating a situation and not, you know, and that's just not smart. I don't. It's the old, you know, kind of adage, like, you know, if you go up to a bouncer at a nightclub and he says, "I'm sorry, not tonight," and you're like, well, F you, you son of a blah, 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 and you'll never, you know, work. It's like, that's never going to get you in. That's never going to come out with a positive outlook. If you go, listen, I'm here just out of town, and you explain yourself, they're like, oh, okay, I get it. But a lot of people just go in sort of inciting things, and listening to that audio tape, it was one of those moments that it was a fine line of him not really being that responsive and cordial to the police until they started to say, hey, we're arresting you. And then he's like, oh, here's my ID, here's this, so suddenly his tune kind of changed a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's these folks who instigate. You see it all the time where these YouTube channels where you've got the guy who I think had a GoPro or something like that, and the cop wanted to see it or something like that, and that video got viral, and it's basically like, you're right, people know the law and they know they're in the right, and they just want to make the situation go a certain way because they know that it'll go viral. They know that they can, maybe see this further down the line, and perhaps, get a settlement if they, get arrested or whatnot. Not saying that happened in this case. I'm just saying I've seen that happen in other instances. Again, like that one video, it's like it could be easily solved, but somebody wants to say like, this is my right? This is, you see it all the time. Like I was watching a video of a person who was arrested because they didn't want to give their ID to the officer, and they kept on saying like, I don't have to show you my ID. I don't have to show you my ID. And they're like, yes, actually, you do have to show me your ID. And like, no, First Amendment, this amendment, yada, yada. And it's like, you're purposely pushing, pushing those buttons. Either you want to get a reaction because it's going to go crazy, or you just, I don't know, you like to instigate. Yeah, I've never seen the desire myself to instigate police when I've been working around them or covering a subject. If somebody is saying like, hey, can you get further back? Yeah, of course I can get further back. I've got a nice long lens. I have no problem getting,
Yeah, the very first thing you do is take a step back and say, hey, listen, I do have this, if you show the first thing is like, no, I'm not stepping back, then suddenly you've escalated. But if you take a step back and say, listen, I have a press pass, or I have this, it's like, it all depends how you interact with them that, is either going to escalate or de-escalate the situation. And I think a lot of people, if you go out looking and wanting a certain situation, that's exactly what you're going to find.
Right. But again, I mean, that's cops have to know this and have to deal with this, right? I mean, that's part of the job, So you're going to have those folks who are going to instigate, and if you let them get to you, if you let them push your buttons, you're still in the wrong, regardless of whether or not they push your buttons. You have to be better than that. You have to be, calm, cool, and collected. And that's tough for cops sometimes because obviously they're in very high stress situations, and now they've got somebody who's, but then they got instances where, cops are like shooting people who have tripods, right? And there's no instigation there, like we've talked about and had a guest on. The guy was just out.
There's wrong on both sides, but you have to look at both sides.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely. But again, in this instance specifically, obviously, they decided to go with the settlement, and then, so be it. And again, were the cops overstepping their bounds and telling him, not to photograph? That's, probably, absolutely. And in this case, yes, and arresting him and stuff like that. So, it's
at the end of the day. I mean, yes, the cops were in the wrong on telling him what he can and can't do. My feeling on it is would have gotten to that point if he had just done something a little different. So I mean, they're not the same issue, and what the cops did was wrong and should not have done that, but also it could have been very easily diffused, I think, and not gotten to that point.
Okay. You've never had any issues or like the only time I've ever been like where specifically a police officer was sort of like threatening me just to take away my press badge was when I was shooting film sets in New York City. So I used to roll around New York City and come across film sets, and I would try and get my shots, and they would tell me to move along, and I would sort of push the envelope there because I was still trying to get my shots. And one time he was like, I'm going to take away your press badge if you don't get out of here. In which case I was like, okay, I got my shots anyway. So I was like, fine. And then I just moved on. Because they were trying to like not stop the sidewalk or people getting in, because I can see that people getting in the road trying to get the shot and stuff like that because these are big time celebrities. But for the most part,
well, a lot of times, having worked in film in New York, you would get almost militant people, especially like PAs saying you can't film here, you can't do this. Where actually you can't. You can, but what they're trying to make sure is, these don't, appear early in press and show, off part of the film or scenes and stuff like that, or, bring attention. So they were trying to say you can't shoot here, but that's just not the case. You can shoot there.
Yeah, I had that one time where it looked like a PA or somebody who was associated with the film production was like telling me I couldn't shoot. Like I was just standing on the sidewalk shooting some actors. I didn't even know what the production was, honestly. I just knew it was a production. That happened sometimes when I was working in the city. It was like, I don't know who this person is, but there are other people photographing them, so I'm going to photograph them too.
So I'm going to get my
That's
shot.
right. I'm going to get mine as well, and then I'll take it back to my boss, and he'll probably tell me, "Oh, that was
a wonderful.
That was some famous actress." And I'll tell you,
there was a.
No, go ahead. Well, I was going to say
there was a wonderful. Go ahead. No, you're finishing.
You go first. No, you go first.
No,
all I want to say was, shooting celebrities, photographing celebrities in New York City. I can identify a male celebrity from like a mile away, and I know exactly who they are. Female celebrities, though, oh man, that was extremely difficult for me because I'm like,
they're ever adapting with hair and
giant sunglasses.
They can take so many different ways. Guys usually just have the same haircut and same this, and women can wear their hairs different ways, different colors. But I was going to say what's amazing is just the mass of people. Just there was someone that hired a couple bodyguards and photographers and went out into Times Square and just made it look like he was a celebrity, and everybody was like, "Oh my God," trying to get pictures of him just because he set up. All you had to do was walk out and pretend you had two bodyguards and a couple of people shooting pictures of you, and everybody flocked around him and wanted a picture with him and stuff like that, not knowing who he was, and he was no one. It was hysterical.
Well, I mean, there's so many celebrities, and there's new celebrities every day that it can be easily like you can see somebody and be like, "Is that a guy? Is that somebody?" And honestly, if people say it's like easy, but it's not, because you have to stay on top of who is hot right now. It's not just knowing who the latest celebrity is who's a hot celebrity people want to see imagery of. Yeah. And so again, that was really difficult for me because a lot of times female celebrities for me blended together more, especially if they weren't somebody who like was a well-known like obviously who was it? Famous female, like, oh my God, why the name is on the tip of my tongue. She's been around.
Sounds like was in
Pretty Woman. Yes,
Julia Roberts.
Like Julia Roberts, I can see.
I'm good at this game.
I can identify her from a mile away. There's a couple females, but like new fresh faces on this, just on the block coming out. It's like I don't know. Especially the music celebrities, forget it.
Oh yeah, I can't stay on top of that. And now celebrities and the internet celebrities and Twitch celebrities. There's just too much.
Well, back when I did it, back in 09, 07, 08, 09, reality stars were not. They didn't make money. It had to be movie stars and TV stars. Those were the big ones, or like people who were prominent within the news. So some sort of news, just celebrity who, So anyways, all right. Good experiences so far for myself. I know if we had Zach on here, he'd probably tell us all about the wonderful experiences he's had with the police, which he's talked about on many episodes of the show. So just listen back on, just do a search of Zach's episodes and you'll come across it. You have to wait like two or three episodes.
A ton of stories.
Just wait 2 or 3 episodes and he'll mention something, his bad experience with the police. But let's move on to our last topic this evening. We're talking about Photoshop for the iPad. This came out not too long ago, like a month or so ago, or has it been? Yeah,
it just recently came out right at Photoshop Max, which they did right after PPE. And released a whole bunch of different stuff.
Now, you've been using this for a while, I presume, right?
I got to test it, and I was under an NDA, which I couldn't discuss what I played with and what I saw for a while. But now that it's out in the open, I can talk about Photoshop for iPad, which is wonderful. And there's a lot of mixed reactions on this, and I guess we're going to discuss that, aren't we?
I guess so. I mean, I started using it in earnest this weekend, so I haven't had a ton of experience. But even playing around with it a little bit, even playing around with Lightroom, I play around more with Lightroom. That's like desktop. I mean, they're both desktop class, but again, like jumping into the Lightroom on the iPad, very easy to, do my editing, do my selects and stuff like that. So I can definitely see the allure of having that on the iPad and capability. Again, it looks like this is full Photoshop, no compromises from my perspective. So, again, I really need to spend some more time, but from the outset, I'm looks good to me. What do you think about it?
It's Well, Lightroom's been out for a little while, and they've been polishing it up, and it works really well on the iPad, and it gives you a kind of cool mobile workflow, and especially when it's combined with Creative Cloud and being able to put things up immediately to the cloud servers and go home, and it's synced with your account, and so anything you do there is already synced to your desktop, and everything's kind of there. Photoshop was just released, and it was something that's been promised for a long time, and people have been waiting for. And with that, everybody has expectations. It's like, when's Sony going to release the A7, S3? Everybody wants it. Sony hasn't promised it, but everybody has this expectation that it's going to be delivered, and it will be. But it's just like Photoshop. So once it comes out, it's what they've delivered is something that is pretty impressive, and it is something that has been needed, and it's an incredible program. But with that, they've pretty much rewritten Photoshop to be used on an iPad, which is a very different experience. With it's not a desktop, it doesn't have a mouse, it has pinch and zoom and touch, tactile and stuff like that. So they really kind of took that into consideration. And with that said, everything is not in the program yet, and some people are, well, why isn't this there then? Well, they've recreated a program that's going to be fine-tuned everything, and Photoshop has been very transparent about it, very saying, this is what we're going to deliver in 2019, this is what's coming to it in 2020. The refined edge isn't there yet. That's something they say they're going to deliver in 2020. Curves and adjustment layers option, that's something they're bringing to it, and they're already testing this out and working on it, and this takes a long time to develop into something that works on an iPad. Brush sensitivity and rotating canvas is coming to it. Lightroom integrations coming to it. So that's all coming the next year. And so as time goes by, this is going to be a more and more powerful tool. And I found myself a lot of times when I don't want to carry a laptop or anything like that when I'm traveling and I need to do quick edits. Now I'll just bring my iPad and I can quickly put the photos into it, do a culling through Lightroom, put it into Photoshop, and deliver it to a client very quickly. Mm-hmm. Do I like working on desktop more? I just like the retail space, mm-hmm. and working with my Wacom and my mouse and stuff like that. But when I'm just going on the fly, the iPad is really a great, powerful tool.
And it works really well with the Apple Pencil, right?
It does.
Okay. Now, you went down to New Orleans, and we talked about this last week briefly because you mm-hmm. were obviously on the iPad for the show. Did you end up using the iPad at any point in New Orleans while you were down there for photo editing?
To quickly look at the photos, yes. But when I'm doing, it depends on the type of shoot I am on. If it's an event shoot that doesn't require much retouching and stuff like that, then I'll usually, I can do something quick on an iPad and get that out and be happy with that. If I'm shooting models, which is a higher retouch factor and, post-production and what I do, I tend to, I'll do a quick edit on my iPad just to see what it's going to look like, but that won't be the one that'll go out. I'll wait to go back and cull it through my main system and do a lot of retouching through the main big system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you ever use the iPad as sort of you link it with your camera and then sort of almost like a tethering? Is that even possible? Sure. Can you tether your? Yeah. You can? Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. You can immediately look at and see what you're shooting. It's getting better and better, and there's all kinds of new stuff from Cam Ranger. Just came out with their version 2 of the Cam Ranger, which I might get, which you put on your camera and it immediately sends it to the iPad. So literally you could call an editor or hand it off to a client and they see immediately what's coming in. Yeah. And you can remotely shoot with it and do stacking and all kinds of wonderful stuff with the Cam Ranger 2 on your camera. And that makes the iPad a really, really great tool. And the iPad for me has just been sort of like the kind of everything. So I go to the airport, I fire off some emails, I get on the plane, with the iPad, and I watch some Netflix that I've downloaded. Then I get to the hotel, and it becomes an alarm clock as well as my TV, and it's just an all-in-one kind of wonder. It just it's the one thing if you're going to grab that really works well.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I've taken it with me as my sole computer for vacation and whatnot. And I found it to be very useful, although limited if you've got a small hard drive or if you went with one of the smaller options. I've got the 64 gigabyte here, and I think I've got about 20 gigabytes left. So obviously what I want to do with the iPad is more video editing specific. I want to use LumaFusion and whatnot, and I find I'm constrained by obviously that hard drive to really do what I want to do. Right. I'm guessing you probably got the 1 terabyte model iPad, right?
It was either the 512 or the 1 terabyte. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean that's perfect for
The
photo.
one way Apple always gets you is that extra memory just costs so much, and they big price gouge on it.
Yeah.
I mean, from the new MacBook 16, it's like if you were to put in like I think it goes up to like 6 terabytes or something like that.
8 terabytes
adds another $3,000
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of ridiculous.
The only thing I've considered buying is like the Narbox. Have you heard about that? Yes.
I have. I've played with it. I've played with the Narbox too. I have mixed feelings on it. I found it not to be what I wanted it to be, and I think it was weird because I was asking them, and like the SD card slot on it, when I put my card into it, it transferred actually rather slowly. Like, well, the port on it, if you use a card, reader into the port, is faster. I'm like, well, why wouldn't you make the card? It doesn't make sense. And in the actual software you're using, there's like two different softwares that sort of do the same thing, but they don't do the same thing. It's just, it's not there yet for an experience that, for me, it's like if I transfer it into my iPad, it's like, bam, it's quick and I can see them instantly. I wasn't getting that same kind of experience. And the Narbox, I think, it was supposed to give you an experience plus a great backup on the road, and I just found it not quite what I wanted.
Yeah, I've only considered it because it does link with LumaFusion. So if you're trying to get extra hard drive space, you can use a Narbox with your iPad and LumaFusion, and that's one way to get there. So
there are a lot of great positives of the Narbox, and I think that that it's only going to get better. But right now, it didn't suit me.
Yeah. So obviously, they've got a pretty close full-featured version of Photoshop on the iPad. Are they working on Illustrator? Are they working on Premiere Pro? Do you know anything about any other programs within the Adobe hierarchy? Because I know they've got their they've got their Rush and they've got their other sort of stuff. But,
Rush is the more mobile one that actually works pretty well, especially on the fly. If you haven't played with Rush, it's actually pretty impressive. Right. And that's the one that's really kind of geared to iPad and stuff like that. There are some other stuff in the works, and I can't talk about stuff that
those darn NDAs.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll have to.
But it was a nice try.
Yeah. Well, I honestly did not know. So that's fine. All right. Well, I'll try and prime you with some alcohol. Maybe I'll see you in person.
But I mean, they've done some great stuff with Fresco came out and really, in presence to that, that's a really incredible program with, its brushes and what it does in its brushes in Fresco is unbelievable. I never thought I would even want to use that program, but after seeing what all the brushes do, and from watercolor to this other stuff, it's really cool and fun to play with. So I would play with that a little bit.
Do they have Photoshop for Android yet, or is that something? You probably can't even talk about it, but I wonder if that's something that they're going to. I doubt it, but
that I can say they are working.
They are working on that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
For all the massive, huge tablets on the Android side, the huge Android tablet market that exists out there. So okay, cool. Well, I will dig into this more.
That is in the works.
That's good. I'm going to dig into this more and just see if this might be something. Because, again, I do a lot of work on the road, and I've been considering the new iMac, or I'm sorry, the new MacBook Pro. It's a very impressive machine. I can't, I see people, and their experiences are just magical. I will say the one reason or thing I would hold out for maybe next year's model, because it's only going to get better from here, and now that they've fixed the keyboard and whatnot, and the screen and whatnot, I'd say, the webcam. 720p on a Pro machine.
My only feeling with the MacBook is it seems. It's a polished machine. It looks great. If you're in the Mac ecosystem, it's nice. But you look at some of these other computers, like if you look at Razer or if you look at what Dell's putting out, you get a far superior computer for either the same price or less. And you can also change out like SSDs, and they're not soldered to the board, and you can do some change outs that once you buy a Mac, and if you don't spec it out, it is what it is for its life, and you're not changing out anything. And like I would rather have a full spec Razor than a full spec Mac. The graphic cards will blow it away. That be able to change SSDs and stuff like that. It's just a farly superior computer especially for video editing and stuff like that. So I think Mac has sort of lost its placement. And you have these old photographers and advertising people that are hanging on to MacBook because it's what they know and stuff like that, and they believe, oh well, you can't get viruses or all that kind of ridiculous kind of stuff now. But there's just better stuff, and people that really have migrated from Mac to PC for that reason.
Yeah, I won't disagree with you. I mean, I've got a PC in front of me right now, and it's works perfectly fine. I will say though, I've had such a horrible experience with laptops in the PC realm, and I found the experience to be with the MacBook just perfect, for the most part.
But most of the time, the people that have problems with PC, they've either bought it through Best Buy or they've bought it through, they've bought a pre-configured laptop and not really done the research on buying it. It's unfortunately, Mac has one, kind of unit where, just like an Android phone or the experience you have from a Motorola to a Samsung Android device is very, very different, so you have to buy the right laptop, and that takes research or asking friends and stuff like that. If you don't, you're going to have a bad experience if you just buy a bad subpar, PC laptop. Mm-hmm. If you buy a good one, you're going to have a very good experience. And there's lots of great options out there and lots of bad options out there. So it takes some due diligence on the user's part to make sure that they're getting the good one, and not just because, that was a great price and it looks like it has all the specs I want, and not really understanding what makes a good laptop.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, people can look for new laptops coming up this Black Friday holiday. Of course, this is the episode before Thanksgiving. We've talked all kinds of stuff like that. You're going to be, I think we already talked about, none of the Black Friday sales really intrigue you. And I don't blame you, because they seem to have gone downhill for the last decade or so.
It seems more like a bait and switch kind of thing now. It's like, we're going to loop them in and get them with this,
doorbusters
kind of fake idea. And it's like, it's just I've never thought they were great. I've been more impressed with Cyber Monday than and I tend to enjoy shopping online and not fighting the Walmart crowds. Yeah,
I'll probably pick up maybe another hard drive. They've got some 12 terabyte, 14 terabyte externals, so I might pick up one of those. Can never get enough hard drive space. Beyond that, I don't really need anything. If there's some awesome deal, but they really aren't. I mean, nowadays it's like you've got Amazon Prime Day, you've got sales all the time, so it's like nobody. There really isn't that same sort of putting everything in 1 year type thing. So I will probably get some video games. I always get video games.
Yeah, there you go.
And then they get put into a drawer, and I never play them.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
But anyways, I think we're going to close out this week's show.
There we go.
Do have to do some notes here for the audience. If you listened to the show last week, you may have noticed, or depending on how you watch or listen to the show, you may have noticed a little bit of different stuff with our release schedule. So I just want to go over that really quick. Really should have done this at the head of the show, but no big deal. So as you all know, we have a Patreon. I've mentioned that once or twice, I think. Anyways, if you put $1 towards our Patreon, you get all of our content early. And that used to be just extraneous content, such as reviews or interviews or things that were outside the podcast. We would put that up early. But going forward, at least with this season, what I'm going to be doing is putting the podcast onto our Patreon early. So, if you're a casual viewer or if you watch the show live, you'll still be able to watch the show live on Mondays. But after the show is done, it'll be taken down off of Facebook, and then it'll be parsed out over the course of the week. So you can see the show in parts, part 1, 2, and 3. And I think that's honestly a more easier way to enjoy the show, because a lot of people may not have the time to watch the entire hour-long show, and they may just want to watch the parts that are relevant to what the topic is that they want to hear more about. So I think it makes the show a little bit more digestible and sort of easier to share and interact with. But we're going to be releasing the episode in parts over the course of the week. But the Patreon viewers will get the show in its entirety The next day, on Tuesday, I'll be submitting that and uploading it to our Patreon account. So if you want to get the full show early in audio and video forms, then you have to be a Patreon. You have to bid it, put at least $1 a month.
If you're a binge watcher.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're a binge watcher, like most Netflix watchers are, you can binge watch the whole episode.
There you go. That's right. So if you want the whole Monty right there and then, become a patron. If not, you can watch the episode in parts. It'll be uploaded to YouTube in parts and then shared on our Facebook page. And then on the Saturday, right now, that's kind of the day I'm still mobile and still fluid on that. But Saturday is when I'm publishing the show in its entirety in both photo or audio and video format. So if you listen to us on a podcatcher like Podcast Addict or iTunes or whatnot, that's when you'll hear the audio version update. That's when that'll be available. So look for that on the weekend. So it will eventually be coming out. But again, if you want to get that early, in addition to all the content we create, head on over to our Patreon page. So
yeah,
there we go. Plug for the Patreon. Beyond that, of course, head on over to aroundthelens.com to see show notes and also all previous episodes of the show and everything else we're doing. Travis, anything else you want to throw us out with before we head on out?
No, as always, we depend on you guys as viewers and to respond back to us. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you think we should be doing in terms of further content. And we'd like to carry on the conversation after the show. So if you have questions or you want to carry on the conversation, please reach out to us. And are we going to be doing our gift ideas? I think we should do a little gift ideas. Presents to get photographers that aren't cameras.
Great idea, and that will be coming up here in one of the next shows, I promise. So just hold off. I was working on a blog post for the website to let people know what Black Friday deals are around. I just haven't had a chance to stop everything else I'm doing and focus on that. But I will publish something before Black Friday, I promise.
Nice.
And then we will do our Christmas special. And what to buy, gift buying stuff, probably right after that.
I like it.
Let's one holiday at a time, Travis. One holiday at a time.
You got to start the shopping right away, though.
Right?
Man.
You're playing the Christmas.
You miss it. Then suddenly, already next week they're going to be, Halloween decorations back up.
I know. All right. Well, that's been our show for this week. Again, just a cozy show, two guys talking about stuff. But next week we should have. Let me see who's on the docket for next week, just so I'm.
We got some good stuff coming up down the line.
Absolutely,
some good guests, and sometimes it's fun just to go back to the roots, just us talking.
Yeah, just the boys.
It's always nice to have the guests. Yep.
But I know of course Evelyn is in the West Coast right now, so she tried to make it, but again. I don't blame her. It's pretty early over there. And then our guest, unfortunately, had some stuff come up that he had to take care of. And Ron...
Life gets in the way.
Ron is just a wild card. But next week... actually, I'm glad I brought this up because next week is a little bit different. And I don't know if this will affect you, Travis, or any of the other hosts. But the show will be at 7:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I believe that's 10:30 a.m. your time, and it's extremely early in the morning my time or late at night, however you want to look at that.
So we'll go this way. If it was 7:30 my time, it would have affected it 10:30. That's music to my ears.
All right, great. Well, so we know Travis will be there, but we're going to have Meg Handler and Michael Shaw, two awesome guests will be on talk about their work. So look out for that. More to follow. We'll probably do a little feature on them and who they are so before the show. So again, that'll be on December 2nd. So go ahead and put that in your schedule. Put that in your planner now and go check out that show. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. Thank you, Travis, for hanging out. Have fun at the holidays. Eat some turkey. Watch some football. Be safe. Stay off the road if you can help it. And I will see you next week.
Sounds good.
Happy
holidays, everyone.
Holidays, everybody. For Travis Keys, I'm David J. Murphy. This has been Around the Lens, episode 202, and we are out.
Thanks for listening to Around the Lens. We hope you enjoyed the show. To continue the conversation, head on over to one of our social media outlets such as Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter. To support the show financially, consider donating to us via Patreon. For show notes from this week's episode and links to everything else we talked about, just go to our website, aroundthelens.com. Finally, if you or someone you know might be a good guest for the show, get in touch with us via email at info@aroundthelens.com.